You'd think that after creating content for 10 years on the internet that I'd be fully immune to imposter syndrome by now. But while I'm usually good at squashing self-doubt, there are moments here and there that can bring those feelings rushing back. Now, I know that you and I are not going to let anyone stand in the way of us achieving our goals, especially ourselves. So today, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into this topic of imposter syndrome, talk about recognizing that it's happening, what to do about it, and how to move forward so that we can spend less time stressing and more time creating. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Austen and I am a fashion and beauty content creator based in New York City. I use this channel to help micro-influencers create great content, grow their digital brands, and earn sustainable income from content creation. So if any of that interests you, please do consider subscribing to my YouTube channel for new videos every Tuesday. So I'm going to be completely honest and tell you that I actually had this video as a viewer request on my list for quite a while, but I've actually been doing pretty good in this department lately, and so it kind of just kept getting pushed further and further down the list. But last week, I heard someone talking about me on the internet, which was very weird, and even though what was said was just factually untrue, and I know that, it still shook me to my core and got me thinking about imposter syndrome all over again. So let's get into this conversation about imposter syndrome. Now, if you ask me, there are two different types of imposter syndrome. So the first one is internal, which is imposter syndrome brought on by your own fears, self-doubt, or other feelings. And then there's external imposter syndrome, which is brought on by other people sparking self-doubt, like making a comment about you or saying something that makes you question something that you actually know to be true. I have to say that truly the biggest thing that has helped me squash internal imposter syndrome is really just time and showing that I continue to build on my skill set and get better and better over the years. So I definitely have more self-confidence now than I did when I first started. If you're newer to content creation, what I just said might be something that you're currently feeling right now. Hesitation to post, not confident in your abilities, and that's completely normal, by the way. But I feel like I'm proof that those external factors can still sometimes swoop in and cause chaos, even if you are pretty confident in your own abilities. The tips that I'm going to share today will help with both of these different types of imposter syndrome. The first thing I recommend doing is identifying the cause of why you're feeling the way that you are. It's possible that there was a particular comment or maybe piece of content or some comparison made that initially sparked that self-doubt. So at least identifying the cause of it can really help you deal with it. I think that it's important to take time to process the situation on your own first before you go to other people. And I'm going to talk about who you should go to after you take some time to process it yourself, but you know yourself best. I actually think identifying some adjectives is a helpful way to do this. So maybe you're feeling surprised, sad, shocked, disappointed, angry, frustrated, or straight up confused. So let's say that a situation involving imposter syndrome has left you feeling frustrated and confused. Knowing those two identifying emotions to describe exactly how you're feeling based on whatever it was that kind of triggered the imposter syndrome feelings in the first place will make it a bit more clear what the root of the problem actually is and how you're reacting to it. Because even if the source of your imposter syndrome is untrue, like, oh, I'm not as good as this other content creator, or this person said something mean about me, even if what was said or the comparison that you're making has no factual basis, that doesn't mean that your feelings are not valid. That's why finding those adjectives to describe exactly how you feel and acknowledging those feelings is key, again, to be able to move past it later. After I take some time to process how I'm feeling by myself, I then move on to what I have not so cleverly named the circle of trust. I meant for this to just be a placeholder in my outline, but if you guys have any better name suggestions for what to call this kind of group or committee of people, please leave me a comment and help me out. So there are three people in my circle of trust, and that is my mom, my fiance Andrew, and my friend Caitlin. And if you guys have followed me for a while, I'm sure you know Caitlin. She is my unofficial business partner slash work wife. I think it's helpful to have some variety in your circle of trust as well. You know, Caitlin is in this business, in this industry, and is very involved in it the same way that I am. Andrew is a complete outsider to this industry. He posts on Instagram once a year for my birthday. Keep an eye out, September 3rd. And then obviously my mom, who's older than me, has the most life experience, and she is just so wise and can really simplify situations for me if I'm overreacting to things. So by bringing the problem or the feeling to the circle of trust and saying, hey, you know, this happened today, it made me feel this type of way, and then thinking about how you move forward or where you go from there, that is where I feel like the circle of trust is really helpful, because we gotta come up with a new name for this, you guys. That's really where they come into play, because they can of course be really comforting if that's what you need, but I think helping figure out, you know, what's the best way to move past this or where do we go from here is something that people in the circle of trust will be very helpful with. So find your own circle of trust who you can go to in these moments where you may be experiencing self-doubt. And if you feel like you don't have someone who can kind of fill this role right now, I would be happy to step in. You guys can go watch some of my other videos where I talk more about, you know, business mindset as a content creator, how to handle rejection and all of those different things. I will leave links to those videos down below in case you'd like to go watch any of those. And you should of course keep this one bookmarked so that you can refer back to it if you ever need like a virtual pep talk. And let me just reassure you right now, whatever you're feeling, whatever even made you want to click on this video in the first place, I am here to tell you that it will pass, and you are probably even more on the right track than you realize. If I were an official member of your circle of trust, the advice that I would truly give you is to remember that your expertise is in your experience. You do not need to be light years ahead of someone else to share your own wisdom and personal experiences. That is still valuable, even if you are just one step ahead of where your audience or your consumer wants to be. We need people who are sharing their journeys. We need people who are actually actively building businesses, working towards the next level, and who are relatable. I'll give you an example in my own business, which is my SEO workshop, right? I am still, to this day, always learning new things about SEO and testing new strategies. But the strategies that I have learned and tested over the years have actually given me results, right? Like I've been able to triple my page views in just 6 months using SEO. My blog has now enough traffic that has qualified me for an ad network where I earn passive income from my blog. And knowing those things and sharing those things with other people, I started getting questions from my audience. People were asking for resources. They were asking for more information. And that's honestly how the workshop was born. I didn't necessarily start out on my own SEO journey thinking, I can't wait to sell a workshop later on and make money from this. I was on an SEO journey simply because I wanted to be, and by sharing my experience that others found value in, I was able to then channel that into a really valuable resource for anyone who is at the early stages, at the beginning of their own SEO journey. Another thing that helps me feel more confident in my work is asking for feedback and for testimonials. So every time I finish a one-on-one consulting session, I send out a little form for people to leave feedback on what they thought. And so far the feedback has been pretty much all good, which I'm very happy with. And I then list that feedback on my website, and that gives me confidence realizing that I've actually helped someone. And it's also social proof, so anyone new who might be looking to book a consulting session with me can go see my track record and see what other people have said about working with me. I think this is also a great time to say that when in doubt, you should always go back to what you know, right? Think about your content pillars as a creator. What are the topics that you love talking about and that you consistently share with your audience? And if you don't know what content pillars are, if you are a newer content creator, you can download my free guide, The Influencer Launchpad. I'll leave a link to it in the description box of this video, where we talk all about finding your content pillars, deciding on what those categories of content that you create are, and also content planning, photography skills, so much more. So you can grab that free guide down below. but I do think the content pillars section is important because those are the core things that you talk about that you could keep talking about for hours. I don't know if any of you guys have been on that side of TikTok where people make PowerPoint presentations about one random topic that they could talk about for like 30 minutes or that they could teach a course on. But I think that thinking about what could you actually talk to someone about for 30 minutes nonstop simply because you love it is a great exercise. And it does not have to be serious or business related at all. I mean, off the top of my head, I could talk about probably a few things for 30 minutes. I could talk about why Wet n Wild's eyeshadows are the best drugstore eyeshadows on the market, and no one can convince me otherwise, and I have a lot of evidence actually to back that one up. I could also talk about the importance of Blair Waldorf's headbands in Gossip Girl and how, as the series progresses, they tie into the plot lines. I could probably write a dissertation on Blair Waldorf's wardrobe. And again, like, do those things kind of correlate to my work? Yes, in a sense that they are fashion and beauty related. I create fashion and beauty content, but it didn't have to be serious to just remind myself that there are things that I'm an expert in that no one else is. And so it might seem small or insignificant to you, but just reminding yourself of that fact can help restore your confidence and give you proof that if that is one thing that you're an expert in, then there are probably more things that you're not even thinking about. Thinking back to, what's an experience that I've lived through that I can tie this into? What's a challenge that I overcame? What's something that has happened pretty uniquely just to me and to no one else? And realizing all of that, channeling all of that uniqueness into your personal brand, and then finding ways to incorporate that in all of the content that you create just helps further convince your audience that you know what you're talking about and you're creating what you are for a specific reason. And the last thing I want to say in this video is basically just acknowledging those feelings, talking them out with people who you can trust, and then thinking about where do you actually go from here? What could you learn from this, and is there a way to put a positive spin on things? So for example, for the whole reason that I sat down to film this video in the first place, right, was last week I heard an untrue comment about me made online. My first reaction was to sit down and start drafting an entire reply to this person about why they were wrong and all these different things, and no one's ever changed someone's mind on the internet, really. Like, you are on Facebook, you see, your aunts and uncles arguing about things in the comments section of a meme page with people that they don't even know. It's so rare that you're gonna change someone's mind. And I realized that that was just a bad use of my time, right? It sucks that someone out there thinks whatever they think, but it's not up to me to change their mind. And so that actually is what inspired me to sit down and film this video, because I just wanted to share my experience honestly, talk about what has helped me in the past, like even identifying those two different types of imposter syndrome, what comes from you and your own self-doubt and what comes from external factors. And like I said, trying to figure out ways to move past it. I genuinely feel like this was a much better use of my time than trying to change someone else's mind out there. And at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words. So do what you need to do in order to move forward, set up boundaries if you need to, protect your peace and your own mental health, and really think about what is a good positive way to move forward and what is a good course of action that you can take that will leave you feeling more confident and empowered and less stressed out or trying to people please or worried about what others think. If you've made it this far in the video, I just want to say thank you so much for watching and for sticking with me. I know that this is a little less strategy, a little bit more personal growth, but I do like to mix these videos in from time to time to just be real with you guys, talk about what's actually going on with me, and share my thought process for how to be more confident in yourself, because that is definitely something that contributes to success as a creator. Again, if you're a newer content creator and you want a little bit more help showing up on your social platforms with confidence and knowing exactly what you're talking about and what your audience can expect to hear from you, the Influencer Launchpad is a great resource for you to get started. As I mentioned, it's free. There's a link for it down below in the description box, and it covers everything you need to know about getting started in this industry. If you're not yet a subscriber to my YouTube channel, I would love to have you join the fam. You can hit the red button down below and also turn on your notifications so that you get notified every single time that I upload a new video. And lastly, please do give me a thumbs up down below if this resonated with you or if you found it helpful. I'll be back again next week with another new video. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye.
Tried sometimes, but you're making me